Hi all, welcome back. I realize I have not been here for a very long time and I'm very sorry about that. And if you follow me on other socials, you will know I was very busy this last month. I do want to apologize though, this whole year with videos has not been stellar for me. I really only started like making long form YouTube videos, was it the end of 2022, I think? So a little over probably a year and a half at this point. And I'd like to say up until now I've been pretty consistent with it. However, this year I have not been doing great. I kind of feel like after that cosplay video that I made back in January, I have been trying to one-up myself with content and really wanting to make sure that like everything that I put out is better than the previous thing that I put out. And I'm slowly learning that that is not a viable method of production. I feel like I need to stop trying to make every video that I produce the best video that I've ever made, because some of them are gonna stink. Some of them are gonna be flops, and I have to be okay with that. I'm not going to be able to learn anything unless I let myself make bad videos. Hopefully this will not be too bad of a video. I'm kind of hoping that in future I will have really good videos and I will have some kind of average videos. I don't really want to put out like a really bad video, obviously. So I'm kind of hoping this will be at least an average one. But as you guys know, if you follow me anywhere on social media, I am a huge fan of the art challenge Mermay, which is essentially a trend that artists do during the month of May every year, where we draw mermaids throughout the entire month. Last year I did sushi mermaids, some of which I have available as stickers in my Ko-Fi shop. And actually this year's concept I have been working on since before the sushi mermaids were even posted. I knew with last year's Mermay that I really wanted to create art stickers out of them. I've wanted to make stickers for forever, and I found that to be the perfect opportunity to make like a full collection. I made them. I have the stickers. Those are still available in my Ko-Fi shop. And since I knew I was going to be making stickers, what I really wanted to do this year is making a collection of prints. I've never done prints before. I've certainly never sold prints before, so I was very nervous about this one, but we'll get into it in a bit. As far as this video for the series, I really had no idea what I wanted to do in terms of filming this. I kind of had the thought of filming the process and then putting out individual videos throughout the month of May, but then I found I was really cutting it close to deadlines in terms of actually getting the art finished, and I had no time to edit and put together videos for the month of May, which is why I have not posted here since early April, I believe. But I do still have all the speed draws of all these pieces, so I thought what we could do is just kind of watch a compilation of them, and I can tell you my process while we're watching them. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play on these, and we can watch them together and sort of talk about them. All right, let's go. All right, so this first one was actually the first sketch that I did for the whole series. This is what kind of inspired my idea for it. And what I really wanted to do was a series of like fake pinup advertisements. Initially, I just wanted to do travel posters and kind of showcase a bunch of different like oceanic regions of the world. So maybe do one for Hawaii, one for the Caribbean, maybe some fictional ones for like Atlantis or even Antarctica, I thought would be fun. And then I decided while I was sketching this that this actually looked more like an ad for a beer than for like a vacation spot. So that's what I ended up going with. This process was so time consuming, and for a couple reasons. One, this is so unlike my actual drawing and rendering process. I was kind of struggling to get everything to look cohesive while still making it look like something that was in my style. I definitely wanted to lean into the very like vintage, very 1950s pinup and get those like really soft lines. I ended up blurring out a lot of the line art to sort of achieve that look. Lots of hair curls, as you can see, and the face specifically, I really tried so hard to get that very bright, smiley, the red lipstick on all of the characters. Always smiling, always with the like rosy apples of the cheeks. For this one specifically, I had really the hardest time formatting the entire thing than actually drawing the picture. The art took ages, again, just because the rendering process was a little foreign to me and I was trying to get used to it. But as I did multiple pieces in this style, it became easier and easier, and the actual art process was a lot faster. And then my biggest struggle was actually when it came to formatting the whole piece to look like a legitimate advertisement. I am not a graphic designer. I've never had any graphic design training. Most of this was instinctual, and I was honestly getting so worried that what I was doing was just not gonna look good at all. It was not gonna look like an advertisement, that I consulted multiple people on this first piece asking like, hey, does this look good? Does the lettering look like it's in the right place? Does the logo need to be bigger? Does it need a logo? I had a little side tangent. I had this idea on these pieces to have all of these products be owned by the same parent company. And I thought I could like throw a little bit of lore into kind of the story of these advertisements by having the logo for the parent company show up in every single advertisement. But I had the hardest time figuring out where to put this logo in some of the posters that still looked natural. So I decided to forego the whole thing. But I might as well talk about it now since we're watching all these speed draws together. My initial idea was to make like a DuPont style logo, just like a very simple logo with the name of the company in it. It was a little more embellished because one, I wanted it to be sea themed. I wanted it to be sort of like ocean mermaid. It's so funny with Mermay. Every time this month comes around, I can no longer say the word mermaid because my mouth is stuck saying the word Mermay because I talk about it so often. Anyway, I wanted to do a little like mermaid themed logo that also looked like something that would have come out of the 1950s. You'll probably see it soon because I did try to include it in this first piece, and I think the second and third one as well. But it's this little logo that says NACRA on it, I believe is how you pronounce it. Because I thought that was such a perfect, like, ambiguous company name where it's like, NACRA, who is that? What does that mean? By NACRA, produced by NACRA. And what it is the scientific name for mother of pearl, which is like the inside of an oyster shell or an abalone shell, is that kind of like rainbowy pearly texture. That's nacre. And I just thought that was like a fun little inclusion that I could try and add, but I ended up scrapping it pretty quickly within these first couple of drawings just because the formatting was such a nightmare. I could not figure out where to put the logo for the beer, the like text for the advertisements, the logo for the company. And then when I showed it to people were saying like, well, wait a minute, this is the beer and this is the beer company. So what is this logo in the bottom corner here? And then I would try explaining it, and it was a whole situation that I was like, you know what? If the people that I'm trying to explain it to are not understanding it, it's gonna be a whole different nightmare to try and incorporate this piece without explaining it to the general public and having them understand it. This hair took ages blurring out all the little highlights. I ended up scrapping that in the later pieces because I realized that the blur literally did nothing. The final product looked exactly like it did if I were to just like do the regular highlights that I usually do, so I ended up doing that instead. I do love these fins though. I think the fins and the tail fin especially on this character turned out the best of any of the posters that I did. But this is what I'm talking about where I had too many logos going on. I also tried to do hand lettering, which I gave up on very, very quickly. Hand lettering is so difficult, and I do not have the tools or the know-how to do that at this point in time. That's something I'm gonna have to learn. I landed on the company name Atlantica because it was kind of a pun on the name Pacifica, which I believe is a beer brand. And so what I've done here is it's Island Time Pale Ale Beer. That's the name of like the actual beer flavor that you're getting. And then the brewing company that brews the beer is called Atlantica. And then here I am working on the NACRA logo. I absolutely love how it turned out, and I kind of want to save it to maybe use in something later down the line. But it was the fact that it was like Island Time Pale Ale by Atlantica, owned by NACRA. It was too much. So I just decided to get rid of the NACRA because I thought if I'm having this much trouble putting it into the first piece, it's just gonna be a nightmare to try and fit it into the rest of them every time. I think this speed draw is probably the longest one because I spent so much time tweaking like the actual design of everything. I've just realized some of the footage is copied over, so I'm gonna have to edit that. Yeah, this is the part where I started taking advice from people. All great advice. Everyone had a different opinion on how everything should be formatted. Again, with the hand lettering, I don't know why I thought I could do that, especially for 9 posters, which is what I had planned for this series. But yeah, you're gonna see the format of this jump around a lot because again, I showed it to multiple different people. Multiple different people had different ideas on what I could do, and I was not satisfied with any of them. I think just because this is a piece that I've been staring at for like a week and a half at this point, and I just wanted to be done with it. So every time I looked at it, I was just hating it more and more, no matter, like, I think this design is really good. I think what I've got going on now is actually pretty cool. I do like my final design better. I like how it turned out, so I'm glad I tweaked it a bit more, but this I probably would have been happy with. But for the final design, what I ended up doing was making the poster a little bit wider than it was long to kind of emulate like a postcard of sorts. And then I had the border around the background with the mermaid kind of sticking out on top of it to really pull her more into focus. Because at the end of the day, these are art pieces. I wanted them to be prints. I wanted them to be pieces of art. I didn't want them to just look like advertisements. And I did do a couple tweaks off camera here because towards the end, the recording process was just getting really frustrating, making sure that the whole Speeddraw was recorded. So I decided to do a couple little tweaks at the end, just sort of on my own, not screen recording, so that I didn't have the stress of recording it and I could just focus on the end product. But I do really like this one. I think it turned out real well. Here is the actual print. These are all available in my Ko-fi shop. I will get into it at the end of this video, but link is in the description if you want to go check those out. Oh my God, I'm so happy with this. More than anything, I'm just really proud of myself for actually getting these prints like created and up and running. Yeah, I like her. I think with the amount of time that I spent on her, she turned out really well. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so this next one, I don't know, I'll probably move my camera like face cam here at this point so you guys can really see, but on these first few pieces, I did do this little compilation of like inspirational photos or like the mood that I wanted to capture for the piece, reference photos essentially. I stopped doing those really quickly because I realized one, I just hate gathering reference photos. I really do. And especially in the age of AI, I came across so many AI generated pinup pictures on Google, and it was really difficult to tell because I really wanted the pieces to feel kind of authentic. I wanted them to look like a poster that you would actually see in the 40s and 50s. There's that Necro logo again, which I still tried to fit into this one and it just ended up not working. But there's so many image results when you look for art now on Google that are AI generated, and it's like, I don't want an AI generated reference because it's not going to give me an actual depiction of what real pinup ads would have looked like in the 40s and 50s, but that's a discussion for another time. This piece though, I made a little oopsie on this one. This ended up being the biggest piece of the collection because it is monstrously tall. I really tried to make all the pieces as like evenly rectangular as possible, like as close to an A4 piece of paper as possible, and not like super tall or super wide. But this one ended up being really tall because I put so much work into her hair and her tail that when it came time to start formatting everything, to start putting the text into the picture and the product and like the border and such, I just kept like making the canvas larger and larger so that I could fit all that in without cutting off the hair or the tail of the mermaid. So that's why this one turned out as tall as it did, but I am pretty happy with it. My one regret with it is I probably would have liked to maybe move her up on the canvas a little bit, cut off like the very top of her hair, or instead of cutting off the hair, maybe having it flow backwards instead of flowing directly up so that you could still see all of it. But that would have made the canvas shorter and it would have showed more of her tail. Because at the end of this piece, the like tail fin, the fluke kind of gets cut off, which is not great. But again, I'm super pleased with all of these posters. There's maybe a couple that I can see some personal issues with, just because it's a flaw in the piece that I noticed and just couldn't get rid of, or maybe noticed after the fact and was too exhausted of looking at this piece. I couldn't figure out how to fix it. But in the end, I do really like this one. Obviously, I spent a lot less time on this one than the first one. One, there's no background on this piece. Two, I was really getting the hang of the art style by this point. I was able to produce it a lot better. And three, the formatting was so simple on this one. The really easy, just like text up in the top corner and then the text on the bottom and the product. I'm actually so happy with how the art of the product turned out on this one. This little guy down here. I think it looks like how someone would have actually drawn product or painted product in one of these posters. And two, I'm very proud of the punny name. It is Loch's Moisturizing Cream. Loch, L-O-C-H, as in a Scottish loch, which is a lake, which is like a body of water, such as a pond. So it's not Pond's Moisturizing Cream. It is Loch's Moisturizing Cream. And I thought that was very punny and clever. Yeah, happy with how that one turned out. This is the biggest poster of the series. After I finished this one, I sort of based the rest of the canvases to be smaller than this one, height-wise, just because I needed them to fit into the packaging. Next piece. Okay, so I know I said I didn't regret the design on any of these, but of all of them, this is probably the one that I liked the least. And I think that's just because I didn't have a fully formed idea of what I wanted to do at the very start. As you can see, there's no like wording on the sketch of this one whatsoever. All the other pieces that I did already had the basic idea of what I wanted the advertisement to be. This one, I had a pose and that was it. And I wasn't 100% thrilled with the pose either, because I remember I sketched this one out and then decided like, I'm gonna try and come up with another idea, but if I can't come up with another idea in time, I'm gonna go ahead and use this one. Unfortunately, that ended up being what happened. I couldn't come up with another idea in time, and I was running out of time anyway to start rendering these. In the end though, I actually did like how the art turned out. The pose specifically, I think fit really well with the like advertisements at the bottom there, and the tail sort of framing the product in the bottom left corner. I also feel like I didn't spend enough time on the product, but it was really difficult to try and get this to look like a 3D bottle. I feel like I really struggled to get it to look like a real bottle. It just, for the whole thing, looked like a cardboard cutout of a gin bottle instead of the actual thing. But something I really wanted to incorporate here, since the gin that she's supposed to be selling in this is called Mother of Pearl gin, again, that's that nacre, the inside of the abalone shell, I wanted her tail to look like Mother of Pearl. So I tried really hard with all the different colors here to give it that like rainbow effect. I'm not entirely sure if I succeeded in making it look like a Mother of Pearl, but I do think in the end it looks good. I really struggled to get all the colors to match decently. The hair I made a little lighter to reflect the like lightness of the tail. But yeah, that's an aspect of this piece that I think I stuck to my guns on a little too strongly. I wish I had just gone with a normal tail color and made the whole piece look good, because at the end, because at this point I feel like the tail might have been just a little bit distracting. I do like the final piece. I think especially with some of the backdrop work that I did, it turned out looking really cool and actually like a legitimate advertisement. I just kind of wish that in the process I had been a little bit more free with the color of the tail. I wish I hadn't been so stubborn about making it Mother of Pearl. A cool little detail here that I did not think about until I had gone in to start coloring is she's supposed to be holding a toothpick with some olives on it, like you would usually put in a martini, so that she's like pouring herself a martini and then she's gonna put the olives inside of it. And then as I was coloring it, I thought, oh my God, those could be like pearls. They could be pearls that she's dipping, and then it like ties into the whole Mother of Pearl thing. And in addition to that, I think the green of the olives was really throwing me off. It made it just sort of stood out as like awkward to me. I wasn't entirely sure how well received the pearls were gonna be. I didn't know if people were gonna understand that like, oh, those are supposed to be olives, or pearl onions even. Another common garnish to a martini. But actually one of the first comments on this piece when I posted it on Instagram was someone saying how much they loved that I had used pearls instead of olives, and I was like, thank God that that translates well. Just doing some background work here. I really was so proud of myself for this idea of putting like a yellow glow in the background, because the whole piece was looking very cold, lots of like icy colors, lots of blues and bluish greens and purples. And I took a little bit of inspiration from the Pilsner pinup ad that I have in my references there, that like yellow glow behind the beer, and I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put that behind the mermaid. It made her stand out from the background, and it added a little bit of warmth to the piece, which reflected her skin tone a little bit better than the icy tones were, and it brought out the warmth in the actual label, which was not pure white. It was more of a like beige color. But that is the finished product of that one as well. Again, I think my only complaint on this one is the bottle looks so flat. I really wish I had been able to get that bottle looking a little bit more like an actual product. There she is. This is one of the smaller print pieces. All of them are almost 9 inches across. I think it's like 8.11 or something. And then it's just the height that varies. So like for this one, the height is 8.11. For this one, the width is 8.11. And then it was just the long side that varied. So all the short sides are the same length. And then the long side varies depending on the canvas, which I wanted to talk about, but let's go ahead and get into the next one. Okay, so this was actually my favorite piece of the whole series. I was so happy with this one. Speaking of the dimensions of the pieces, I didn't think about this until way later, but what I really should have done is considered common framing sizes before putting these pieces together. I really randomized the dimensions on them. Again, all of the short sides are 8.11 inches, and then the long sizes varied just based on the canvas size. And what I should have done is I should have taken common sizes into consideration. So like, I should have looked up like framing sizes and then catered the art and the canvas size to what a frame would be like. So I should have made it like 10 by 12 or 8 by 10 or 16 by 20. That way, if someone bought these prints and wanted to frame them, they would be able to. I personally thought that they looked great as like posters, because they're pinup posters. They're supposed to like tack up onto your wall, and then they just sit there like a poster would. I wasn't honestly expecting people to want to frame them. And then my mom pointed out that maybe I should make the sizes fit into frames, and I didn't consider that, and I'm sorry about that. I will consider that in the future. There were a lot of things that I needed to consider that I just ended up not even thinking about until it was too late. I had the hardest time with the like sitting position on this mermaid, because at this point I was kind of thinking it would be cool to, in addition to make prints, also do some stickers of just the mermaids, not the entire like advertisement. Just take the mermaid themselves and like make a sticker out of them, kind of thing. So I decided to draw the entirety of the mermaid, like the pillow that she's sitting on, the way her tail folds behind it, and it looks so awkward and so unnatural that I ended up covering the whole thing. I knew I was gonna cover it anyway, I just drew it that way to hopefully make stickers in the future, but I think if I do turn these into stickers, it would be better to turn like the whole thing just into a rectangular sticker instead. I think that would come across a lot better. So I really struggled with the whole pillow and like underside of the tail for absolutely nothing, because it ends up getting covered up anyway. But I was so happy on this one with the face especially. I use the symmetry tool, which always makes things so much easier. And 2, just the like softness of the mouth and the round rosiness of the cheeks, because this is supposed to be an ad for blush, so I like really piled on the blush there. I don't know what I did with this one, but it's absolutely my favorite. Just the softness of the whole piece I thought came together so nicely. I did struggle a little bit with how the makeup compact, how I wanted that to look, because I knew from the very beginning that I wanted it to look like a shell. I thought that was really cute, and I wanted to keep as many sea themes, ocean themes in this project as possible. But then I thought like old makeup compacts were usually metal. I don't know when we started using like plastics for makeup compacts. I think it was the 40s, because I know the metal was being like siphoned off to the war effort, and so everything that used to be made out of metal started being made out of plastic, something like that. So I think that was in the 40s. But I still wanted to do a metal compact. So I decided on this like silvery bronze color because I didn't want it to be too close to the silvery blue color of the tail, but I also didn't want it to blend into her skin like it was doing with the more copper color that I had it before. But yeah, I really struggled to make it look like metal. I need to start looking up more tutorials on how to draw metal because I can't find a great way to get it looking right in my style. Granted, this is not my style exactly. This is a style that I developed specifically for these posters, and I have since returned to my normal style after doing these. I might revisit it though. I had fun, and the characters turned out amazing, so I might revisit this style. But metal, it's because it's reflective. So it's hard to draw, for me, a reflective surface without having it reflect anything, if that makes sense. So like this compact in the front here, especially the mirror part of it, what's it supposed to be reflecting? Nothing, because there's nothing, we the viewer are not there. The camera definitely can't be reflected in the mirror. So I just had a hard time making the metallic surfaces look metallic in this piece. But once again, overall my favorite piece of the series. I'm just so pleased with how like soft and smooth and bright her face looks. Here we are. And I do think the powder puff is one of my favorites. I love the little bow on there. You can kind of see, I don't know how well you can see, but I put little like white flecks in the base of the powder puff to kind of make it look really soft. Like it's got little like soft bits in there, if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense at all. But yeah, very happy with this piece. My absolute favorite. This is going up on my wall somewhere. They're probably all going up on my wall, if I'm gonna be honest, but I love this one. I love her so much. I do also love the next piece. The next piece is probably my second favorite. Okay, so again, this is my second favorite piece of the whole series. For some reason, the pose was my favorite bit of this, the way she's kind of like looking down. It's an ad for ice cream and she's like dripping ice cream all over herself. And then there's a little crab that's like trying to get at the ice cream and she's kind of looking down playfully at it like, no, not for you. I sort of modeled it on the, what's that? Is it a sunscreen brand with the little baby that's twisting and the puppy is like pulling down her underwear or something? I sort of modeled it off of the playfulness of that where she's like, no. I did initially, so something about these mermaid pieces is I wasn't sure at the beginning whether or not I wanted them all to be topless. I think that's a huge debate about mermaids is like, do they wear bathing suit tops? Do they wear seashells? Are they just topless? Is it like the hair cascading down? And on quite a few of them, I did end up making them topless. These first three all are topless, except for this girl, my tall girl here. She's wearing a bathing suit. But when I did these sketches, she was the only one wearing a bathing suit top. And by the end of the series, I had decided I want them all to be topless just to make it uniform. And then I realized when I went back to look at the sketches that I had actually given this one a bathing suit top, and based on the pose, there was no way that I could make her not have a bathing suit top and still be decently covered. So what I decided instead was to add a couple bathing suit tops to my remaining mermaid characters, including this one. And the other reason I wanted to add a top to her was it seemed a little bit too risque. I realize they're pinup, they're supposed to be kind of sexy and risque, but having her just covering herself with the arm and the ice cream was just a little too racy for the mood that I was going for. So I gave her a bathing suit top. I think it turned out really well because now we're matching like the bow on the hat to the bikini to the tail is all this gorgeous yellow color. And then that also made the ice cream stand out a bit with the pink ice cream contrasting against the yellow. So I think that was the right choice, giving her a bikini top. It was just that extra pop of color that I think this piece really needed. Something that I'm not sure anyone's gonna notice because it does kind of look like a stylistic choice. I had a lot of trouble with the hair on this piece, getting it to fit under the hat while still making it look like it had a natural afro curl to it, but also leaning into the 1950s pinup style hair. There was a lot I had to consider with the hair, and I think it turned out really, really good. However, I'm a little scared to admit this. I forgot to highlight it. I feel so bad. I really, really do. I feel horrible that I forgot to highlight the hair. It does, in my opinion, look like a stylistic choice because afro textured hair is gonna be a little bit less shiny than like straighter hair because it doesn't have as much of a surface, like a flat surface for light to bounce off of, but I do wish I had remembered to highlight the hair. I was very, very upset when I realized, and I had already ordered the posters at that point. I don't know in the future if I'm going to change that or not, but here's the poster. I don't think it's too distracting. I don't think it's that bad. I feel like unless you had it pointed out to you, you wouldn't notice. I really hope so. I don't know yet if I want to add highlights for future print runs or not. Either way, she's still my second favorite girl. My first favorite is the blush. I love her so much. She's my second favorite. I did a punny name too. It's a Skip and Nemo's ice cream instead of Ben and Jerry's. A Skip, like the skipper of a boat, and then Nemo, like the point in the ocean that's farthest away from land. So I do love her. I love her a lot. I just wish I had remembered to highlight the hair. I had spent so much time on it that it didn't even occur to me that I forgot to highlight it. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this was another piece that was relatively similar to the Mother of Pearl Gin piece in the sense that the sketch was not entirely finished by the time I had started rendering it. This was actually the second sketch that I did for this pose. The first one that I did, I was super, super unhappy with. Something about it just didn't look right to me. This one I think looks a lot better. But what I really, really wanted was kind of like a naughty feel to this one. Like, ooh, she's a lady, she shouldn't be smoking a cigarette kind of thing. So I had the tail fins like covering the cigarette because it's like, ooh, it's scandalous, it's naughty, she shouldn't be doing it. But then at the same time, it's also covering her as well. I don't know. I just thought it would be a cute idea. And I do like the end results. This freaking seashell, I gotta say it. I feel like I'm being negative on myself right now, but I do have to say this one. The seashell ashtray, I wish I had never done. It was such a pain in the ass to get it to look correct, and I don't even think it looks super great on the finished poster, if I'm being perfectly honest. It looks like you can tell what it's supposed to be. I just don't think it looks good. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I feel like I'm being really harsh on myself, but that's the reality of the thing. But I really wanted to do a cigarette ad because obviously they're not legal anymore, at least in the US. The ads, I mean. Cigarettes are still legal, but you can't advertise them anymore. So because this was like a throwback piece to the 1950s and we didn't know the health risks of cigarettes yet quite at that point, I felt like I had to throw a cigarette ad on there for both of those reasons. I had to do a lot of research about cigarettes for this thing because I've never smoked. I didn't know. One, I had heard the term menthol cigarettes before, but I didn't realize that that meant like menthol, like the minty, what's that like rub that you put on your chest when you're sick? Like that smell. I didn't realize that's what that meant, but apparently there's cigarettes that taste like minty, I guess. But I thought that fit really well with the theme of like ocean breeze. It's gonna be like a fresh breath with the mint, with the menthol. So I went ahead and made sure I labeled them menthol cigarettes. I had to figure out what Class B meant. I think that just means they're bigger. Class A is smaller, Class B is bigger. I'm not entirely sure. I looked it up and I know that these were Class B cigarettes based on how they looked, but now I don't remember what Class B means. This is fun. I flipped the whole piece around because I realized that having her formatted over to the right of the poster was going to give me a lot more room for the text at the top. So halfway through this, I just flipped the entire piece around so that I could have room for the text. I did change the text more. I think I added like a little bottom bar to, it's like a frame. I did want to hide the like knee area of the tail. I tried so much to get it to look right, but it just ended up looking really wonky. So I added that frame to, one, give myself some room to put the text places, and two, to specifically hide the knee. I couldn't get it looking right, so I just added that frame to kind of hide it. Here is the finished poster for that one. I don't know if you guys saw, because I think it was a little towards the end, but I did very, very quickly change the tail because I felt like the purple wasn't warm enough, and the shell kind of blended into it as well. But I really like this one. I think it's cheeky, I think it's cute, I think it's fun that it's a cigarette ad because we don't have those anymore. But there she is. I also really like her face. I like the freckles on it. Anyway, on to the next one. All right, this one I think is actually a pretty close contender to my favorites list as well. I just really loved the composition of this one, the way that the whole thing turned out at the end. I don't want to spoil too much as we're watching it, because I realize we haven't gotten to the parts that like were my favorite yet. But in this one, I decided to do another logo like I did at the beginning. With the beer piece here, I had this logo on it that said Atlantica that was supposed to be kind of like the beer company, the brewing company, and then the product at the top. For this one, I tried to do the same thing. It's for Popping Pearls Bubble Bath. And I didn't do a specific separate company that owns the bubble bath. I just did a logo that said like Popping Pearls Bubble Bath. I didn't include it in the original sketch, but it is gonna pop in at the end here. These bubbles took ages. I think I was working on outlining and then coloring and rendering these bubbles for the better part of like 3 hours. It definitely took up the majority of the time that I was working on this piece, but I think they turned out phenomenal. I cannot get over how cool these bubbles look, because the thing is, I really wanted to make them look, one, like they had that kind of soap sheen on them, that oil slick kind of look, but also I wanted to make sure they, once again, looked like pearls. I thought it would be really cool to have her look like she's bathing in a bathtub full of pearls, but still make them look like actual bubbles, actual suds at the same time. And I don't want to brag, but I think I nailed it. This is what I did to kind of get like the oil slick look. I know it looks a little wild with all the intense colors, but you tone it down a little bit and you just clip it to the bubbles, and I thought it just looked so cool with that little flowy rainbow effect across all of them. And then once I started like shading everything and getting all the rendering in there, they looked so cool, and I was so happy with it. I was also happy with the fact that I did not have to render any hair for this one, because I was getting a little tired of doing these like really styled, like really put into place pinup hairstyles. So I just wrapped her hair up in a towel, and I think it fits perfectly with the whole thing, with the added bonus of me not having to worry about it. Again, with the metal here on the like fixtures of the bathtub and the clawed feet, I really tried to make it look as metallic and like as shiny as possible, but my problem with metal is every time I try to render it, it just looks matte. It looks like almost a sandblasted texture, which is not what I'm going for, but I can't really figure out how to get metal to look reflective. Well, I guess I take that back. I guess you do kind of want more of a matte texture when it comes to specifically like bathtubs, the hardware in bathroom appliances and stuff like that. You can see how long it took to render these bubbles. But again, when it comes to things like jewelry or the makeup compact that I was talking about earlier, getting that to look really shiny and really reflective was just really difficult. And I don't think I quite nailed it, but I think I'm getting closer. I had that big bottle there because I wasn't entirely sure if I was gonna do like I've been doing with the gin poster or the moisturizer poster. I had like a big version of the product at the bottom. And then this is when I had the idea for the logo instead. So I did that instead of like the big bottle. Initially I had it in the bottom left corner here, but then I realized that my spacing was a little bit off with all the different elements, with the name of the product, with the logo, with the description and everything. And I still wanted to make sure that I actually highlighted the product at the same time. So what I ended up doing was I put another frame around this one. The frames really saved me. I think they look so good in all of them. And I used this product that she's holding as like the actual product on the poster. I made it look like she was reaching over the frame for the bottle and like pulling it towards her. I thought that was really, really cool. I was super happy with that. And then just kind of rearranging everything to make it fit. I moved the popping pearls over from the right side to the left side because there was that big blank space there that needed filling up. But overall, very, very happy with this one. The bubbles specifically, I can't get over. Look at how shiny and pearlescent they are. I was so happy with that. I think they look so good. And then her like reaching for the product at the bottom here, like she's pulling it out of the advertisement. I thought personally that was ingenious. But there she is. I forgot to mention, I love how shiny she is because I wanted to make sure it looked like she was actually in the bath, like she maybe had a little bit of wet skin. So I went a little extra hard on the highlights on like the cheeks and such, and down the arm here to make her skin look a little shinier, but absolutely love her as well. Hello, I've returned. I say that because it's a little bit later in the day now. These last two speed draws actually had not finished rendering by the time I had started recording the other one. So I had to take a break and wait for them to finish, but I have them now and let's go ahead and get back into it. So this piece I was actually really, really excited for. I love drawing hair, and when I came up with the idea of like a hair product, especially for the 50s, there was all sorts of like serums and mousses and tonics, things to keep your hairstyle in place because the pinup style especially had these like really, really coiffed like pin curls and victory rolls and just very, very stiff hairstyle. So I was really, really excited to do like this very big flowing hair because it's what I'm best at. I will regret that later though because oh my god, it was so much hair. I will say though, the face on this one gave me so much trouble, specifically the line art for the face, because I don't know what happened here. I thought I was happy with the face, and so I finished up the line art and I moved on to the coloring. And then I looked back at it later and I was just like, this isn't it. This is not, I even like try and move the features around to fix some stuff, but it wasn't coming together. And so I eventually redo it, but it's not until I'm putting on like the finishing touches of rendering this piece until I finally decide I have to go back to the line art and completely redo the face because this is not working. That's a lesson that I learned in high school. There was a high school art teacher who probably the only thing I really like took to heart from his class was the phrase "kill your darlings." I've talked about this before, but it basically means not to hold too tight to the work you've already put into a project and prevent it from improving. So basically, I had already put so much work into the face of this character that I didn't want to change it because I felt like if I started from scratch again, then all that work was going to be for nothing. But in reality, if you're working on art, if you're working on a piece, you're going to either improve the piece or you're going to improve your skill. So it's a win-win situation. It doesn't matter if you start over again because chances are you're going to end up with a better product. And especially in cases like with digital art, you can always just save a copy of the line art that you have just in case what you decide to change it to doesn't turn out as well. But I even highly recommend this for traditional art as well because usually when you've already put the work into creating something, you're gonna do it better the second time. So kill your darlings. Don't be afraid of wasting the work that you've already put into something because at the end of the day, it's all experience. And that's what I did here. And now another thing with this, and this was pretty consistent for all the mermaid pieces, I drew the mermaid too small. And I was really upset about that because I put so much effort into her hair and like everything on the top of the head that when I went to enlarge the mermaid to fit better on the canvas, I cut off about 1/3 of her hair. And it was one of those moments of just like, why did I put so much effort into the hair just for it to be cut off, just to get rid of it, essentially? But again, kill your darlings. It's gonna be fine. But yeah, I really wanted this series to focus mainly on the art and not the advertisement part. Like the advertisement was gonna be part of the art. It's what made it a pinup poster instead of just like an art piece. So that part was really important to me, but at the end of the day, it was still art. I really wanted to make sure that it was the mermaids that were front and center. So I really think it helped overall the end product to make the mermaids just a little bit bigger, a little more in focus. Okay, I'm not entirely sure where I am in this speed draw anymore. My computer, this is actually my 3rd time trying to record this one specifically. I was rendering this and the other speed draw in Adobe Premiere, and when I try to close Adobe Premiere, sometimes it just absolutely refuses to close, and I didn't realize it was still trying to shut down in the background while I was recording this. So things were going really, really slow and laggy, and I had to like shut down and kind of figure out what was going on. But I finally got the program to close, so now we're back to this. This bottle, again, I was experiencing the same issues that I was experiencing when I did the gin bottle. For some reason, these like, here, I'll show you what I was trying to sort of emulate. I have this vintage Eclampus Vitus bottle, which you just have to research it. It's like pseudo order, whatever it is. But I was trying to go for something very like, it's a thin bottle, it's flat. I was looking for this shape specifically. I even referenced this bottle when I was drawing the hair tonic, and I wanted to be something similar to that, but I can't quite get that like flat but still 3D shape. It was very, very difficult. I do think the hair tonic bottle turned out better than the gin bottle did. This one actually looks like, if not 3D, it looks like an actual painting of a bottle that would have been done in the 50s, if that makes sense. I did notice her hair was kind of blending into the background a little bit with that dark hair, but I didn't want to lose the deep blue color of the hair because it matched the bottle. So I did a little bit of a glow around the outside on the background, and I think that also served an added bonus of making this like obviously an ad about a hair product where it's like, this is the star of the show. Look at her hair, look how good it looks. So I think in the end it turned out really, really well. I am so much happier. I did forget I actually redid the face twice. This is the final face that we ended up with. And it looks so, so much better than the one that I had previously. So really glad I redid it again and came up with that last version. And here is the poster. Again, really glad I did that halo of sort of the lighter background around the hair, because otherwise that would have just blended right into the background. And I'm pretty happy with this one. I think this is another one of my smaller ones. Yeah, it's just a little bit bigger than the Island Time one, but I also think she looks very cute. I really liked the side-by-side on this. I don't know what it was, it seemed almost like a centerfold, like a magazine ad, where the product was on one side and the model was on the other side. So happy with how that one turned out. Okay, I'm exhausted. We have one more to go. All right, so before we get into this final piece, this one was a little bit different because I spent all day rendering this piece from start to finish on stream. It ended up being an 11-hour stream. I think we started at like 9 a.m. and went to 8 or something. The only reason we stopped is because I had accidentally made the file way too big and it kept crashing. The program crashed once, the stream crashed I think twice, but that's why it's gonna look a little different, is because this is actually a recording of my stream setup. I did zoom in a little bit because there was a lot of flashing images that when I speeded up seemed really flashing. I'm gonna put my face over my stream's face and then a black square above me to hide the slideshow that's usually playing up there because it's flashing really fast with the speed up. But here we go. Okay, so I think this was actually one of my favorite concepts of the whole Mermay series. The mermaid in the soda glass, I absolutely loved. I thought it was so cute. I apologize if you guys can see anything going on behind me. I'm trying to hide as much as I can with the webcam so that it's not flashing incessantly. If you want to see what all this stream stuff is going on, head over to my Twitch. It's Threadwing, same as it is here, twitch.tv/Threadwing. I do art over there all the time. On occasion we do games, and I will be making this a monthly tradition where like the last Wednesday of the month or whatever day, I'm gonna do a full sketch to full final rendering piece on stream. I'm hoping they're not all gonna take 11 hours. This was quite the ordeal, quite the endeavor. Oh my God. But I had a lot of fun and I definitely want to keep doing this. So look forward to more of these for sure. Back to the stream. This line art, for some reason, I don't know if it was because I was streaming and people were chatting with me and vice versa, but for some reason, this line art took absolute ages. I predicted this stream to last like 5 hours. I had planned to start at 9, go 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, so 8 hours. I had planned for this stream to be like 8 hours long. And most of that 8 hours was just line art. I had realized by the time that I had finished line art that it was the time I thought I was going to be getting off stream. So clearly we had a long ways to go after that, but she turned out so awesome. I think the most difficult part was getting the wrinkles to look right on the shirt, because on all the other mermaids I had done, I did like a bathing suit top. And on this one, because she was supposed to be like a 1950s like diner waitress sort of thing, that's kind of the vibe that I was going for. I really wanted that sort of soda fountain dress, whatever they're called, soda jerk, where it was that like white collars, but then I had to have it tie in the middle so that she could still be like a mermaid underneath it sort of thing. But yeah, I wasn't used to actually drawing fabric like that in this style. I had just been drawing like bikini fabric, which is just sort of covering what it needs to cover, and having like the sleeves, figuring out where those go, the tie in the front, it was all really difficult. The other thing that took a really long time on this was getting specifically this soda bottle to look right. I think if I had included a label on the soda bottle, it would have looked more like a soda bottle, but I didn't want to distract from, one, the name of the soda in this little side menu area, and two, obviously I didn't want to distract from the art as well, so I decided to leave the soda bottle blank. And on top of that, I just really didn't want to draw a label. And I had the hardest time trying to get the liquid to look like liquid. I had a hard time trying to get it to look like soda. It was hard times all around. I did know for sure that the theme that I really, really wanted to stick to on this one was like cherry and cream. Berries and cream, cherries and cream. Because I wanted it to be a cream soda, sweet cream cola is what I called it. I'm not entirely sure if that's a thing. And then it was gonna be a cherry flavor of this sweet cream cola. So the mermaid, her tail is red, her top is pink, she's got a giant cherry. The pink and white is kind of that like berries and cream sort of thing. At first I made the soda way too light. I was going for more of like a cherry cream soda than a cherry cream cola. And in addition to making the soda in the glass too light, I made the bottle of soda too dark, which was just adding like this really weird contrast of colors. And it took me a lot of tweaking to kind of get those to look good together. It still looks a little wonky right now, but I promise I get them to match at the end, and it looks a lot better than it does right now. But yeah, finally getting into the rendering here, doing the highlights and everything. At this point, I was so tired, and I was just like fighting with myself, like, you said you were going to finish this on stream, and I knew, I was like, I'm going to finish this on stream no matter what it takes. So I was just pushing through. I was just pushing through and not thinking about the fact that I was still streaming. I don't know. I think that's when my actual Psy program crashed right there. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the whole program went down again because the file was massive. The thing that happened, which I realized after the fact, is instead of making the file however many pixels by however many pixels, I accidentally had it set to inches. So instead of like 1080 pixel by 1350 pixel, it was 1080 inches by 1350 inches, which is significantly bigger. That's way bigger than the print would have even turned out. So that's why my computer was having such a hard time with this and crashing immensely. And again, the reason why I actually had stopped streaming this piece was because it continued to crash my computer and I could no longer actually stream it. At the end here, I did switch over to finish up a couple of the design elements, move some things around, make it look decent and ready to print. But for the most part, the entire thing was done on stream, and I'm still very, very proud of that. It was exhausting, but I also had so much fun, and I really can't wait to do this again, but with a smaller piece. Something a little more manageable that is not going to take me 11 hours to complete. But there you go, folks. That is my entire Mermay series. Oh, I forgot to show you the last one. There she is. There's the print. I'm actually a little sad that this ended up being, I think this is the smallest one, and I'm a little sad about it because look how cute she is. Again, all of them had the small size at 8.11 inches, and then it was just like the long side that varied. Things I learned from this print run: the poster size, the print size, I think needs to be more regulated. I definitely did not think at all that people were going to want to frame these. So it didn't even cross my mind that I should probably try and regulate the sizing to fit inside a frame. I did learn that the website that I'm getting these from, Cat Print, could also send prints directly to a buyer, so they don't have to bypass me first. I could just send them directly there, and I think that'll save everyone some money, but that's just something that I have to look into. And yeah, that's about it. I think the biggest thing I learned was definitely the regulations. The size regulations I really need to consider on the next print run. I don't think I'm gonna be changing the sizes of these ones particularly because one, they're supposed to be posters. They're supposed to be hung up on your wall as posters. They're not supposed to be framed. I think that's a little silly to frame an art print of mine. I don't think they're worth that. But I don't know, maybe someone out there enjoys them so much that they want to be framed. And to that person, I am so sorry that I did not regulate these. If you guys want to get your own set of prints, these are available in my Ko-Fi. It's ko-fi.com/threadwing. Or if you want to go to my shop directly, just add a /shop at the end of that. It's $10 per print or $75 for the whole bundle of 9. So I think that's 2 prints for free if you get the whole bundle. But if there's one that really speaks to you, you could just get 1 or 2 prints. If you want to see the full pieces or you want to see any of my other work, you can always find me on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky and Kara and Twitter and TikTok and Twitch and YouTube. There's so many socials flying around right now, you guys, and I'm trying to get on as many as possible, if only to just like grab my name to make sure no one else is using it. But it's getting hard to keep track. My main social is Instagram. You can always find me on Instagram. I'm not leaving there, at least not anytime soon. So at the very least, I will always be there. You can also find me on Twitter. It's Threadwing Art on Twitter instead of just Threadwing. And I have reactivated my old Tumblr account. You can find me there under Threadwing as well. That one is not gonna have as much new art on it because I only just reactivated it this last month to post my Mermay stuff, but now I'm gonna be posting Pride stuff there as well. So you can follow me on Tumblr too. I do have a Twitch account, as I mentioned earlier. You saw that full 11-hour live stream compressed down to about 5 minutes. I try to go live every Tuesday and Friday at least. These past couple weeks though, I've been doing a couple bonus streams, so keep an eye out for those as well. And I think, last but not least, if you want to support me in the best way possible, you can subscribe to my content on Patreon. If you follow me there, you will see all my art posted an hour earlier than anywhere else. If you choose to subscribe there, you can get exclusive content for as little as $3 a month, and I post there at least every other day. There are different tier levels. You can also get early access to all of my art at $10 a month, and if you want early access to all of my videos, you can join the Video Start tier for $15 a month. And then of course every tier gets all the content that's underneath it, and so on and so forth. You guys know how Patreon works. Once again, these prints are available in my Ko-Fi shop. I might have called it Ko-Fi a couple times throughout this video because I keep thinking it looks like lo-fi. Anyway, I gotta edit this video tonight, so I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so sorry that I've been gone for so long, but I literally have already recorded most of my first Pride video, which is gonna be going up next week. So I will see you guys all then, okay? Bye.